Hello everyone and welcome back to Phoenix English. Today's lesson is about into as a preposition. Into is a preposition which can be used to convey different meanings. In the following, I'm going to tell you its different usages. And also, I have prepared a small quiz at the end of this lesson to challenge your understanding of this video. Let's get started. Into can be used to convey the meaning of to a position in or inside something. If you put one thing into another, you put the first thing inside the second. For example, she dived into the water. Come into the house. He threw the letter into the fire. Into can be used to mean in the direction of something. Driving into the sun, we had to shade our eyes. Speak clearly into the microphone. Into is also used when we want to mention a movement. If you go into a place or vehicle, you move from being outside it to being inside it. For example, she got up and went into an inner office. I have no idea how he got into Iraq. He got into bed and started to read. If one thing goes into another, the first thing moves from the outside to the inside of the second thing by breaking or damaging the surface of it. Flavel had accidentally discharged a pistol, firing it into the ceiling. The rider came off and the handlebar went into his neck. If one thing gets into another, the first thing enters the second and becomes part of it. For instance, poisonous smoke had got into the water supply. The money went into the common fund. We can use into to convey a change in a state of something. Can you translate this passage into German? The fruit can be made into jam. They came into power in 2008. If something changes into something else, it then has a new form, shape, or nature. She's learning what she needs to know to grow into a competent adult. His attempt to turn a nasty episode into a joke was fruitless. If someone or something gets into a particular state, they start being in that state. He had too much time on his hands and that caused him to get into trouble. The group plunged into financial crisis earlier in the year. They slid into a depression. We can use into to talk about persuasion. If you talk someone into doing something, you persuade them to do it. They tried to talk me into selling my house. John tried to talk her into taking an apartment in Paris. Into can also mean to a point at which you hit somebody or something. If you're walking or driving a vehicle and you bump into something or crash into something, you hit it accidentally. The truck crashed into a parked car. While looking on her phone, she almost crashed into a tree. Joanna heard him bump into the table and curse again. We use into for wearing clothes too. When you get into a piece of clothing, you put it on. He put on his underwear and got into his suit. She could change into a different outfit in 2 minutes. We can use into to show the result of an action. For example, he was shocked into a confession of guilt. We were stunned into admiration at seeing the glory of the palace. To convey the meaning of, about, or in connection with something, we use into as well. The concert will raise funds for research into lung cancer. We were beginning to have some insight into drug therapy. Into is used to mention the start of a particular career or business. He closed down the business and went into politics. In the early 1990s, it was easy to get into the rental business. Into can also be used to convey the meaning of to a point during a period of time. He didn't get married until he was well into his 40s. She carried on working late into the night. If something continues into a period of time, it continues until after that period of time has begun. Examples: the Open Golf Championship will be getting into its second day in a few hours. He had 3 children and lived on into his 60s. Into is also used when you are dividing numbers. 3 into 24 is 8. 4 into 100 equals 25. If something is cut or split into a number of pieces or sections, it is divided so that it becomes several smaller pieces or sections. Roll out a pastry and cut into narrow strips. 16 teams are taking part, divided into 4 groups. We can also use into to express our passions. If you're very interested in something and like it very much, you can say that you're into it. For example, I'm into electronics myself. His father was into the hobby of collecting coins from different eras. Remember that this usage is informal and can also be considered idiomatic.
What is the meaning of into in each sentence?
She got into her dress and went to see her friends. I am into playing video games. They talked me into buying a new car. My father went into trading when he was a teenager.
Thank you for watching this video. See you soon with another interesting English lesson. If you have found our videos interesting and useful, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you again.